Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. This is my first formal proper video of my sunset series, and since it's the first, I wanted to start from the absolute basics, which would mean the mediums and brushes to be used for sunset to make these sunsets. I'm going to be using 5 different mediums in this video, so all of them are equally amazing, don't take me wrong. We have color pencils, oil pastels, gouache, watercolors, and acrylics. All 5 of these I'm going to try out. We're going to compare color pencils and oil pastels because those are similar, and we're going to compare all the paints. Just keep in mind that this is just to give you guys an idea about what effects you get with these paints, what the color vibrancy is, the blending. I'm not saying any medium is better than the other. Every artist has their own preference and has their own style. I'm just trying them all out to show you guys and give you guys an idea of what it's going to be like. So now for the brushes, you don't need brushes for pencils and oil pastels. For those, you just use a tissue paper for blending. So for watercolors and gouache, you'd use similar brushes, and gouache and acrylics, you'd use similar brushes because gouache is basically a cross between the two, so you can swap brushes for these. First, we're going to focus on the gouache and watercolor. Just, if you're not interested in the exacts, just look at this. And basically for gouache and watercolor, you need brushes that will hold more water, and they don't have to be flat brushes, unlike how I will tell you further with the acrylics. For this, in watercolor especially, you don't need a flat brush because when you're painting with watercolors, the water spreads the paint for you, most of it, and you can't see streaks unless your paint is dried. So I intend to work on a wet on wet for sunsets, which is why I feel the brushes that hold water are really great. And for gouache as well, you can use the same brushes as watercolors if you're going for that effect. For acrylics and gouache, however, you need flat brushes, and the size of the brush would vary depending on the size of your paper. The bigger the brush, the bigger the paper, the bigger the brush, because in acrylics, every stroke you make can be seen, and with a flat brush, it's easier to spread paint evenly. And if you don't have a flat brush, you try a round brush. Your round brushes, number one, aren't that big, and number two, they don't have an even edge like all of these flat brushes here. The round edge will mean some places are thicker, some places are thinner. That is not at all what we want when it comes to acrylics and thicker gouache. So if you'll see, even here, I will be using these exact same brushes for the paintings and testing of these paints, so to give you guys an idea and a feel of how these would really work out. I'll explain it in more detail while we're painting so that you get a first-hand feel of it. So just make sure acrylics and gouache, flat edge brush, but gouache and watercolors would be roundish. Here you can use this brush from the watercolors here as well because it's flat. Basically, the important thing here is it needs to be a flat brush. Even spreading comes only with a flat brush. I'm emphasizing this a lot because in the beginning I tried using round brushes, which basically failed. Just simply saying it failed. That flat brushes are the way you should be using acrylics for backgrounds. Round brushes, no. So we are starting with the color pencils, and obviously have your tissue paper side by side. For color pencils, you need to have basically all the colors that you want to use because I find color pencil blending not that easy, personally. Color pencils I don't use that often, especially for sceneries or landscapes, because there it's not, I don't know, I feel like color pencils are more for realism than landscapes. So I'm just showing this to you because it's a medium that exists, and I guess you guys should know what it looks like. But personally, I'm not a big fan of using them for backgrounds, because if you don't have, like, let's say the mustardy yellow, then the transition between the yellow and the orange would be really messy. If you don't have the purple between the pink and the blue, then that transition would be really, really messy, and that's not what I really like. And you just need to have a bigger set of color pencils, and that would mean more supplies, and if you don't use color pencils that often, that's basically a waste of supplies. So I find that color pencils aren't a great medium for backgrounds. So I suggest, for backgrounds at least, not color pencils, because you'll see as well how the blending isn't smoothish. It has its good points, like you can lift it off really easily from the paper, but well, I'll let you decide. It's up to the artist. If you're used to using color pencils for backgrounds, if you enjoy using it, then please don't take my words badly, I guess, because you enjoy it, you do it. I'm just speaking for myself. I'm not speaking for anyone else. Please do tell me in the comments down below which medium you like the most, which one you'd like to see me use the most in my upcoming videos, because I'm going to do sunsets for I planned out like a 7-week thing. So for the next 7 weeks, it's sunsets, how to make them, color schemes, clouds, silhouettes, beginner, intermediate, difficult sunsets, everything. I think I just labeled every video that I'm going to do. Well, anyway, you guys get the idea. Just tell me in the comments below which of these you like the most and which one you would want to try out or have tried out already. The thing with color pencils also is that they're very light, so you need to press more. And you can see the streaks, it's quite streaky. There's some color pencils that I've seen online, like Prismacolor stuff, that are really, I don't know, soft lead, so they blend really easily. These, no, I don't feel so. And also, one point to make sure of while using color pencils is you use the side, never the tip. You use the tip, you are going to spend a lot of pencil lead while trying to cover up bigger spaces. Make sure to use the flat edge of the color pencil like I am, because I haven't sharpened my color pencils even once during this entire thing. If you try to use the tip, you are going to have a very hard time blending and a very, very difficult time trying to do basically anything. You'll probably finish your color pencil trying to do half the picture. For bigger surfaces, always remember the edge of the color pencil. And also the tissue. I love tissues when it comes to basically color pencils and oil pastels, because these two are the only two that require tissues for blending. And sketching as well, I guess, but I am usually too lazy to find a tissue and I end up using my finger. We're done with the color pencil now, and we're going for the oil pastels. Oil pastels, personally, I love a lot. I've done so many different skies with oil pastels. They blend really easily, and you don't need to worry about spreading the oil pastel everywhere, because in the end, when you blend it, you just need to know that you have enough of it on the paper so that there's no white space left. You just don't need to cover it all up. If you see on the edges, I have a lot of white space. And the magic is you just start blending and the colors blend together seamlessly and the white space gets covered up. You don't need to put too much pressure. You don't need to waste too much crayon either trying to cover up every space. And also the color effect in the end, as you can see, is way more vibrant than the color pencils. I'm not saying that color pencils are bad. I'm just saying if you want vibrant and bright and the sky is your focus, then I suggest oil pastels, because color pencils are more like you're trying to focus on whatever's in the foreground, not the sky or the background. Now we're going to compare the two in detail. Let's just get this tape off first. So if you see, I'm just comparing the colors and showing you where they ended up. The color pencil took a bit longer to blend than the oil pastels. The pencils have a slightly more difficult gradient, making it slightly more difficult to blend and not so seamless. Then the oil pastels were really vibrant and are really vibrant, and with less effort, they're really bright. The color pencils ended up being streaky. You can still see the streaks. Oil pastels were quicker to put down, like you didn't have to put too much effort, and you blended them super fast. Like color pencils probably took me about 15 minutes. No, okay, that's too much. But 10 minutes? The oil pastels took me less than 5, I'm pretty sure. The oils did smudge the paper though, and you can't get it off, whereas the color pencil you can lift off far more easily. Like I did erase parts in the middle you saw, and it came off really easily. Oil pastels tend to just stick around. So finally, conclusion, it depends on your style and depends on the effect you are going for. You want lighter, go for color pencils. You don't want the focus to be color pencil. Okay, we moved on. Watercolors, gouache, and acrylics now. See, as I said, the water spreads the paint, so you don't really need the flat brush because the water is helping to spread it, and the flat brush is not really necessary. You'll see in the gouache and acrylic how the flat brush definitely is necessary. See, the water on the paper that we put, the clear water that was the first coat of thing that we put, does most of the work for you. The only thing about watercolors is they're very light, and same as with the color pencils, they give a lighter effect. If your entire picture is lighter, you've used watercolors for your entire picture, then it should be fine because the entire thing would end up being lighter. But if you're using acrylics and a mixture of acrylics and watercolors, which I do sometimes, then if you use watercolors for the sky, that would mean your sky isn't really the focus, the foreground is. So basically the different mediums you use tend to kind of show what your main focus of the picture is. Gouache was slightly... I love gouache mainly because it comes in tubes. I like paints that come in tubes. I wanted this to look like those aesthetic pictures of piles of paint, bits of paint, and then you just spread them in one brush stroke, but that didn't happen. I had to keep going up and down, which is, please don't do this. You can do this with colors like orange and red that are really close to each other, but if it's colors like blue and orange that are near each other, which happens in sunsets, yeah, great, splodgy mess. But if it's colors like orange and blue that are close together, you don't just go up and down with those colors. Do not do that, because when orange and blue come together, they form brown. Don't try it. I'm telling you, don't try and do that, because then you'd have brown in your sky. I've never seen a brown sky. I mean, I've seen it in pictures but I've never actually in reality seen a brown sky. You don't want to mix colors like that. You need to have the transition colors. So if you're moving from up to down, then stay in that direction. Don't go from down to up. Even if I'm doing that here, don't do that. Listen to me. I would tell my future self not to do that. But don't go up. If you're going up to down, stay up to down. If you're going from down to up, stay there. Keep doing that. Because that's an issue that happens sometimes. The color gets carried in the wrong place and then it gets really messy. I'm going to compare all three, the watercolor, acrylic, and gouache red in the end. So I'm not comparing them right now. Just you have to wait a bit further. I'll compare it then. But I'm sure you can see the difference. Now for acrylic, I really wanted to get like the nice aesthetic looking blobs of paint, but my paint had a different idea. It just plopped on the paper right where I didn't want it. Anyway. And also the paper that you use matters. I didn't emphasize that too much in this video. I haven't done that because I ended up using watercolor paper for all three. Don't do that. I know I'm telling you not to listen to me, but I'm just saying I did this only for the purpose of this video, which was to compare the three. The purpose here was not to make artwork, it was to compare the three. See what I mean when I say stay in one direction? Because I was coming down and I had been up a little while ago, and I came down and I got purpley stuff on my orange. Thankfully the layer under it had dried, so I was able to pick it off. That might not always be the case, which could be dangerous for your picture. Just stay in one direction, either go up or go down. I cannot emphasize this enough because I have faced this myself countless times. Please don't make the same mistake. Also, I'm going to include all the details for each of these in the description below because I'm talking a lot, you might miss the main points. So the exact details are in the description. Now for the comparison, the watercolors were light, they were translucent, and also they can be reactivated. Watercolors have that special ability to be reactivated. And they had smooth blending, really easy, really smooth blending. The water in the background helped. Gouache had a matte finish. It's vibrant, way brighter than watercolors. It had a matte finish, so it's not glossy, and it can be reactivated as well. As I said, it's like a cross between acrylics and watercolors, so it has the property of the watercolor, which is to be reactivated. But the blending was slightly tricky. If you saw, I had to go a couple of times. Acrylic is smooth and glossy and like shiny. Smooth as in like smooth paint, and it's bright. But it's not smooth blending, because you saw I had to put extra paint on after every little while. That's because not all gradients are perfect. Some gradients require extra effort, some don't. And we're done with these three. I have pictures of this and the color pencil and oil pastels on my Instagram, so I'm putting the link in the description. I hope you like this video.
Like, share, and subscribe.
Subscribe.
Subscribe.